Hi, my name is Carol Wyre. I am the director of King's Christian Academy, which is a subsidiary of Hills Academy. I am very excited to talk about J.T. McCormick and the book that we read for our Kings group. My Kings are the 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, and we read the book called I Got There by J.T. McCormick. How I got to see this book was I was on YouTube and I was looking for a book for the Kings to read. Came across a YouTube video of a man who was honoring a teacher 35 years later. And I started to watch the video because I too wanted to be that teacher that a student would remember 35 years later. And as I watched the video, toward the end, was signing his book as to a book that he had written. So he was signing it. And I said, let me order the book and see what it's about. I got the book, I read the book in one day and immediately said that my kings have got to read this book. They had to know that there will be adversity as they are growing up, but how one can overcome adversity. And just like he says in the book, you don't always have to strive to be a ball player or do something illegal or get into the music industry. There are other ways that you can still become very successful and very prosperous if you continue to educate yourself. At the end of the book, the author did put his email address in the book and asked if anybody had any ideas or just wanted to reach out to him, they could. So I took a chance and said, well, we're in the middle of a pandemic. We're just doing things we haven't done this year. And so let me just reach out to him. A lot of times people put it in their book and sometimes they contact you or sometimes it's one word, sometimes it's a form letter. I said, well, let me contact him and see how it goes. See if he can be on a Zoom call and give some words of wisdom to the Kings. I contacted him. I was very excited because he contacted me within 5 hours of my initial contact. He thanked me for supporting the book. He offered to send the book for free. And when it arrived, I was very happy to see that not only did he send the book, but he also autographed each and every book and advised us that he would also be on the line on a Zoom call to speak with the Kings. And so in December, we had the pleasure of hosting Mr. J.T. McCormick in one of our live sessions. We talked about the book. All of our Kings got to ask questions about the book. He gave us some inspirational words of wisdom. I took a lot of notes. We had an exciting time, and I'm just happy about how it turned out. Good morning, Mr.
Good
McCormick.
morning.
Good morning. How are you this
I am
morning?
always excellent. If you wake up in the morning and your feet hit the ground, you got to be excellent.
I know I read in your book. That's your word, so I get it. I understand. Thank you so much. Here are my students on the line with you. First of all, let me say I'm both very humbled and honored that you are on. We played a few of your videos this morning just for the kids to have a live view of some of the things that you've said in the past. We've all read the book. We cannot wait for your words of wisdom. I'll just go around and introduce some of my students really quick because I know your time is very precious. But again, thank you. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be on the line. Thank you for believing in the students and sending your book. Thank you for autographing each and every book. It was an extra added plus that we didn't even know about. And so, of course, I have mine, which is cherished. I gave my other one away, but I have the one that you autographed in my library. So to go along real quick, we have Malik Robinson, which is our 10th grader. Jaden Hadnother is 10th grade. Keyshawn Hine is 11th grade. Isaac Robinson is 11th grade. Jaden Rogers is 10th grade. Miles Colbert is 11th grade. Oren Bolig, 11th grade. Jacob Lynch, 11th grade. Emmanuel Smith is in my 11th grader. Michael Dewberry is my 10th grader. Then we have the beautiful Mr. and Mrs. Hills Academy. We thank them because they are the brainchild behind Hills Academy. It was their vision to start a school for young males. We are now 4 years into it. The high school is 2 years old, and so they've allowed me to come in and be an extension of what they've already started. So I owe all praise and honor God and then my Hills Academy family. Jamal Rogers, which is is our 12th grade student. He is due to graduate this year. He will be our first graduate of Hills Academy. Kadeem Hahn, who I absolutely love as well. He is here. He is our student. Trey Akeem, love my student as well. He's our new student. He didn't have the book when he first came in, but he's gotten it and has read it. And then we also have Miss Robertson, who is teaching us to do online resumes. So all of our students are learning how to do online resumes. So that is just in a nutshell. We welcome any words of wisdom that you can share with us. And again, thank you for being on the line.
All right, so gentlemen, well, first, thank you. I appreciate it. Incredibly humbled and flattered. But before we get started, gentlemen, you all have to do something for me because I can see you all on the screen. I got to see some teeth, guys. You got to show me some smiles. You guys are looking like we're about to put in work out doing something. And come on, man, smile. Keyshawn, smile for me, man. I'm not going to get anything. Give me some teeth, man. Give me some teeth. Not happening. All right, I got love for you. All right, so we're going to do this two separate ways. Normally, if I'm in a conference room, which I am right here, I'm at the office. If I'm in a meeting, I have a certain type of conversation. So you're going to see me go back and forth between, we're going to have some real conversations with you all, and you're going to hear the professional side of me when I sit in conference rooms. More importantly, if you all read the book, let's start with any questions you all have for me.
Don't make me call you out because I went over your questions this morning.
I have a question. Our theme this year for the Hills Academy Kings is self-discipline. What would you say disciplined you to power through everything you went through in the book?
Eliminate the things that don't matter, and I'll speak to you all where right now where you all are in life. So when I was your age, you know, I didn't have TikTok and YouTube and I didn't have all that. So even as an adult right now, I like to believe I've made a few dollars in life and I can afford to have ESPN or my DirecTV subscription, but I don't have it. And the reason being is I focus on the things that are important to me. So my life comes down to 5 areas: God, health, family, business, and investing. If it doesn't fall within those 5, I don't do it. Me watching a TikTok video of somebody dancing, I don't care. It's not taking me any closer to my goals. It's not taking me any closer to where I want to be to succeed. So I don't watch it. YouTube video of somebody dancing in the street, hanging out with their boys, it doesn't do anything for me. So I don't watch it. So the discipline is within self. And I'm going to elaborate on that as well. Don't blame anybody else. If you pick up your phone and you watch a TikTok video, that's not somebody else's fault. That's you. You picked it up. Nobody else. So always take responsibility. Always be accountable for your actions. When I went to juvenile, I went because of my actions, what I did. Wasn't anybody else's fault. My dad was a pimp. He had 23 kids. Wasn't his fault. Wasn't my mom's fault. What I did, I did. And so I had to take personal responsibility for it. I don't blame other people. Life may not always be your fault, but it's your responsibility to be who you want to be.
Very good. Next question. Jacob Lynch, you had a good question.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. Hey, nice to meet you. But I was gonna ask, in your book, you've mentioned a lot of the hard struggle that you went through as a kid. I personally was wondering which one seemed to stick with you, which lesson stuck with you the most through life.
Probably the time period of when I was with my Uncle Bobby in the book. It was a very, it was a needed time, much at the same age of each and every one of you. I needed structure, I needed discipline, I needed routine. Yeah, I had been in and out of juvenile 3 different times. You all read it in the book when that corrections officer told me if I came back again, I was going to go to man prison. Man, I didn't want to go to man prison. That's something you don't want man prison. You do not want anything to do with man prison. And so being structured, being routine, being disciplined, those are the things that have helped me the most in life. And I, as a bonus, I'll tell you this: attention to detail. So much so, in our company, one of our principles and values here in the company is impeccable attention to detail. Always look nice. Always look people in the eye. Always be respectful, attention to detail. Take pride in what you do and how you do it.
Very good. I'm going to say jump right in, but I know everybody seems to be a little bit shy. Isaac, you had a good question that you posed this morning. You can state your question.
Yeah. So my question was, knowing that childhood traumas can lead us, anybody, into their adult life, I would ask, what childhood traumas and what were the positive and negative effects that could have led throughout your life and up to now? So my question would basically be, the childhood traumas that you may have went through, how does it affect you in a positive and a negative way? So yeah.
So I'm gonna hit you all with something really personal that it doesn't go into a lot of description into the book because I held it with me for so long. It wasn't until after the book that I actually came out with this and talked about it. So when I was a kid, ages 6, 7, and 8 years old, one of my father's prostitutes used to sexually molest me. And you all come from similar backgrounds that I come from. So I'm going to be, as you all say, I'm going to keep it real and keep it 100 with you. She used to force me to perform oral sex on her. And I was 6, 7, 8 years old. And when I didn't do it right, she would slap me in the face, punch me in the head, and tell me do it right. Now, I remember at 8 years old saying to myself, okay, I'm never going to be in a position where I don't know what to do. And what that created, the positive to your point that came from this was I created perfectionism. So everything I did, I wanted it to be perfect because I never wanted to be in a place of not knowing what to do. That was the positive because that helped me to always strive to be perfect. Now here's the negative. There's no such thing as perfect. And so I was consistently driving for something that you just can't achieve. And people would even call me out on it. They would say, well, there's no such thing as perfect. And my response would be, well, I may never touch perfection, but I'm going to get close enough to smell it. And that was a dangerous way to live because, again, you're chasing something that you can never actually achieve. You can strive to be the best, but perfection just doesn't exist. And that was something for me, being molested, that definitely was a childhood trauma. And it stayed with me for years. Like I said, it wasn't until my 40s that I actually was willing to come out and talk about that.
Michael Dewberry, you had a question as well.
My question was, how does your, okay, so I read in the book that your mother didn't show up to your book release. So I wanted to know how she felt then and how she feels now about the book.
So my mom she felt that the book was a bad reflection on her because of that time period that I wasn't with her. And so she was embarrassed. She was emotional about it. It didn't bother me. I don't hold anything against my parents. Again, you heard me say this. It's not my fault of what I was born into. We don't get to pick who our parents are. And so it's not my fault of what I was born into. But again, I can't say this enough. It's our responsibility to be who we want to be in life. It's our responsibility to define success. Success may not be millions of dollars for you. Success may be you want to be a lumberjack out in the woods somewhere and live in a small house and cut trees down. If that's your definition of success, don't ever let anyone take your definition of success from you. Don't look at Instagram and see the cars and the chains and the houses and let that be your definition of success, unless that's what you want. But if you want to be a chemical engineer, be a chemical engineer. If you want to be a CEO, be a CEO. But you define success. So for me, with my mother, directly to your question, she wasn't there, and we had that time period of life where I was separated from her, and she felt bad. She said that's the worst period of her life because she has deep regret for it. But I don't have any animosity towards my mom. I lived my life. It is what it is, and it's helped me be successful.
Okay, very good, very good. Thank you so much for that. I am going to ask the question for Malik, if you don't mind, only because Malik's computer lags at his house, so sometimes it comes across as warped. So his question was, if you can talk to young people about why it is important to learn the basic skills, because you talked about the basic skills in the book. So just as young people, young men on the line now, why it's important to learn the basic skills for where they would like to be in life.
Now more than ever, gentlemen, I'd say the basic skills, and let me start with this. You all know I don't have a college degree. You all know I only have a GED, and so let me lead with this. If you have the opportunity to go to college, go, and that would first be my advice to you. If you have the opportunity, go. Get your degree. It's something that's beneficial. Don't make it harder than it has to be. I went the hard route. I didn't have a degree. I still don't have a degree. The basics are more now than ever needed because no one uses manners anymore. No one says yes, sir. No one says yes, ma'am. And because if you just do that, you're already ahead of people. If you look people in the eye and say, hello, nice to meet you. If you walk by someone on the street and just say hello, I can't tell you how many times I'm walking out in the hall of the office space here and someone will just walk by and won't say anything. And I will say hello to everyone. Those are powerful things that will differentiate you, that will show that you're different from everybody else. If there had to be one thing that I would tell you, don't be like everybody else. Be you. Stand above the crowd. Don't be with the crowd. So many people, again, I come from the communities you come from. I had so many people tell me, oh, you think you better than us because you wanted to get out of the hood. The goal is to get out of the hood. The goal isn't to stay. I don't want to represent the hood. The goal is to get out of the hood. You read the book. I love waking up in a gated community. I love the fact that when people are running, they're doing it for health, not because they're running from bullets. And so the goal is to get out of the hood. Do everything you can. Now, don't forget where you came from, but definitely get out of the hood. That's the goal. And so for me, guys, the basics are everything. Even right now, some of my biggest multi-million-dollar deals have been achieved and accomplished because of very basic things that I've done. Because I made someone feel special by shaking their hand, remembering their name, saying their name, using manners, follow up, impeccable attention to detail. Don't be sloppy, be on time. Think about this, gentlemen, and I'll shut up after this. No one's ever been fired for showing up 30 minutes early, but I know a lot of people who've been fired for showing up 2 minutes late.
That is true, and trust me, we don't want you to shut up. we do not want you to shut up. And so, that was Malik Robinson's question, and I'm only asking it because the area that he's in, his computer lags, so it comes across like kind of robotic when he asks the question. Jaden Hadnot, I want to go to your question next. Now, I know you too. Your mother teaches in the background. So, do you want me to go ahead and ask your question, or are you able to ask it yourself? I can't hear you. Okay, if you want, I can go ahead. He's in the same room with his mother and she teaches. Um, if you had to do one thing different as it relates to your current career or different decision business wise, would you have done something different and what would it be?
Hear me when I say this, and this is for my whole life. I do my best to not live with regrets. And the reason is it doesn't change anything. If I could change two things in my entire life, neither would be for me. Here are the things that I would change. I would have had my mother, she would have had more money and not have to struggle, not have to stand in that line and hear that white lady call her a nigger lover because she had a mixed race child. I would erase that from my mother's experience. I would have liked my mom to have had more money so she just didn't have to struggle and I didn't have to see the tears of her crying because she couldn't feed her son. That would be one. The other one would be when my three half brothers and sisters that you read about in the book, when I got reunited with my mother back in Texas, they got split up into foster care and they went through, excuse my language, they went through hell. And I would have changed that for them. My middle sister, my middle half sister that you in the book, she only met her mom sober because they were both in prison together. That was the only time she ever met her mom sober. And that's, I would have changed it for them. But for me, oh man, nothing. Juvenile, sexual molestation, going broke. I wouldn't change any of it. It's made me the man that I am. And the goal is to look back on your life and find the positives. Our world is full of negativity. It's up to you to find the positives in those negatives.
Okay, thank you so much. And we had a very interesting conversation about that because, again, in the 70s, being mixed wasn't celebrated, but it is
No.
celebrated today. Today, mixed is exotic. So we were talking about when the shift changed from it being something that wasn't celebrated way back when to now being completely celebrated in today's society. So thank you for touching upon that.
You know,
Because we did have a.
let me jump in on that a bit as well. I don't know if it's so much celebrated. It's a tad bit more accepted because I will say this for people. Here's the part. Mixed race relationships are a little bit more accepted, but what happens is a lot of mixed race relationships don't take the time to think about that. Okay, great, you love each other, but if you plan to bring a child into the world, there's a whole different set of circumstances that you as an adult, you're mixed race. Okay, that's your decision, but as a child being mixed race, that party's a little bit different. And so it is a little bit more celebrated and accepted, but let's call it what it is. We live in a country where we showed our true colors this last election, and it's not totally celebrated. It's just a little less talked about.
And it's true. I actually was referring to our young males in terms of preferences.
Yeah.
When it comes to the exotic look. So we had a very interesting conversation, but you're absolutely right. It's not celebrated. It's a little bit more accepted these days. But yes, this last election did show us a lot of things. Let's see. Our next person who hasn't had a question, I'm gonna ask Jade and Miles. Miles, we'll go to your question.
My question is, what helped you recover from not seeing your mom for so long?
Oh man, I don't know that anything really helped me recover. It just I was happy to be back with my mom. I feel like all of you can relate to this in some way, shape, or form. Be it your mom, your aunt, your grandma. There's something about the nurturing feeling from a female that even though my Uncle Bobby was there, my Uncle Bobby was he never yelled, but my Uncle Bobby wasn't a very loving man. He was very strict. He was very disciplined. So there wasn't a lot of hugs, and there definitely wasn't any I love yous. But just being back with my mom, because those first years of my life when I was with her and we struggled, that's all I knew was my mom. So it felt good in many ways to be home, but we had our differences. When I was 15 when I got back with my mom. When I was separated from her, I was 9. So I was a completely different kid, different person, and we had our challenges. My man Tupac had the best lyric that I always related to. It was hell thinking of my mother from a jail cell. And that I always missed my mom when I was in juvenile. It sucked. So it felt good to be back with my mom, but we had our challenges.
Great. And I just want to let you know I could identify my mother's Jehovah's Witness. So I can
Yes.
definitely identify with that upbringing because she is still one to this day. Next question. Let's go. I'm trying to look around to see where I can get to. Trey, I didn't think I got to your question. And Kadeem, you can go next after that. And I know Emmanuel, his computer is coming in and out. So if he's not back on, I'll ask his question. But Trey, we'll go to you first. And then
My question was, now that you're a successful businessman, who do you admire and look up to in the business world now?
I don't have, some of the people that I look up to most are not alive anymore. Andrew Carnegie. I look at John D. Rockefeller. John D. Rockefeller had a very similar background of mine. His dad had 2 separate families, different kids. And this is incredible. I learned this maybe 2 years ago. John D. Rockefeller, and we're going back to the 1800s, gentlemen. John D. Rockefeller was a big fan of freeing the slaves and treating Black people equal. And a lot of people don't know this. Spelman College, which is a HBCU, historically Black college, Spelman College is named after John D. Rockefeller's wife. Her maiden name was Spelman. And when I saw that history and I saw that he was once the wealthiest man in the world, we look at Jeff Bezos today. Jeff Bezos is worth roughly on any given day $150 billion. They said if John D. Rockefeller was alive right now, he'd be worth $600 billion. So to see what he was willing to do for the Black community and his beliefs, and he was that successful coming from that fragmented of a background such as mine. I'm a big fan of his, George Westinghouse. But today, I have the incredible honor. I'm here in Austin, Texas. The wealthiest Black man in America is here in Austin, Texas as well, Robert Smith. And I've met Robert Smith on several different occasions. He's a person that I definitely look up to. I joke with him. If you all will work with me here for a second. So you notice on my book, it said JT McCormick. Well, this past, actually, this is important, gentlemen. Follow me on this. So when the protest broke out back in May, June, when I was 21 years old, I made the decision to start going by JT. And the reason being is, you see on the screen, my name's JeVon. Well, when I was trying to get on people's calendars, when I was trying to get appointments, for whatever reason, I couldn't get an appointment. I knew I could sell. I knew I was good at what I did, but I couldn't get on people's calendars. And I was on a call one day, and a white guy said to me, he goes, "Hey, how did you get a Black name and an Irish last name?" I didn't even know my last name was Irish, so I was excited to hear that. But then it hit me. I was like, oh, that's why I'm not getting on people's calendars. So the next week I started going by JT McCormick because you didn't know who that guy was. I started getting appointments. So from the age of 21 all the way up to this year, and I'm 49 now, guys, all the way up to this year, I've always gone by JT. But then the protest broke out. And I sat back and I watched, and for me, so much of the status signaling was fake. so much of the things that people were saying they wanted to do was fake. Blackout Tuesday. What does that do to advance us as a people? I don't care that you blacked out your Twitter on Tuesday. What's that going to do? And then we were arguing over a syrup bottle. What's that do to help bring change? And so I made the decision to reclaim my name and start going by JeVon. And the reason being is there was a big deal made about how the Fortune 500 business the companies, there's only 3 Black Fortune 500 CEOs: Roger Ferguson, Marvin Ellison, and Kenneth Frazier. You don't know what race they are by their name, but it hit me. I'm like, well, wait a minute. There's no JeVon in the CEO role. And so for me, the reason why I changed my name back and started going by JeVon is I wanted every LaQuanda, every Latavius, every Marshawn, every Jamarcus to be able to say, oh, wow, a JeVon made it to the CEO chair. And so they could go into the workplace and feel comfortable being JeVon or LaQuanda and be able to work next to a JeVon, not just a JT. So in having the conversation, like I said, with my mentor, who I call mentor Robert Smith, I even made the joke with him. I said, come on, Robert. I said, your name is Robert Smith. I said, that's the most, nobody knows what that is. I said, both your parents have PhDs. I said, you went to Ivy League schools. You worked at Goldman Sachs. I go, man, you lost me a 2-parent home. And so we sat down and I told him, I said, I'm going to start going by JeVon because I want all those young men, young women to see that, yeah, you can have an ethnic name and still work your way to the top. It may be harder, but I don't give a damn. You work harder. For every person that says, oh, it's not fair that I've got to work 100 times harder than the next person, here's my mindset on that. It may be true that I had to work 100 times harder, but my mentality is that just makes me 100 times better than you.
That is so good. I like that. I like that. I think, Kadeem, you were next.
Yes. What else would you like to accomplish personally and professionally?
Personally and professionally, I'll start with personally first. You heard me say this earlier. I keep my life real simple: God, health, family, business, and investing. So I want to be the greatest father and husband I can be. I always want to do right by my wife, treat her as my queen. I want to be a great model for my children so they can see how you should treat your wife, how you should be treated. I've got 2 boys, 2 girls, and I have to be a model for both. I have to let my girls see how a man should treat them, and I have to let my boys see how they should treat a woman. And so for me, I want to be the greatest husband and father I can be. That's on a personal level. Professionally, continue to grow the company. I want our company to be worth multi-billions of dollars. I want to continue to increase my net worth. Again, don't let anyone define success for you. Success for me, a lot of it was money driven, and I'm okay with that. But it's in business to grow a company and be able to provide a company where people can come to work and it's a better environment than the companies that are out there now, to where you can come work here at our company and you're not worried about racism. You're not worried about men being paid more than women, and you're not worried about your religion, your sexual preference. You know what? We treat you as humans. That's what it all comes down to. And for me, growing up mixed race, that's very, very important for me, that people are treated as humans, not I don't care what your sexual preference is. I don't care what your religion is. It's, are you a good person and are you a good human?
That is correct. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask the question for Keyshawn, and just so you know, I don't think I've ever seen Keyshawn smile either. So I will ask his question. Well, not smile with his teeth, but I've seen him smile. He said, "What is your favorite thing to do? What hobbies do you have?"
Keyshawn, my man, I have been incredibly blessed that I get to do what I love. I love business. I love studying business leaders. I love studying why companies make the decisions that they do. Um, I love playing golf. I got introduced to golf several years ago. But right now I've got 4 small children. My children are 7, 5, 3, and 2. And so I much rather be at home with my family than out on a golf course for 4 hours. So again, I'm incredibly blessed that I do what I love. I love business. I love to study companies. Why did they make the decisions that they made? Why do they do the things that they do? Why don't more companies have Black leadership teams? Why don't more companies push to make change within their community? So yeah, I love what I do, and I'm blessed to be able to do it.
Thank you so much. And I just want to interrupt for one moment. I have a special guest that have come in just to give you a little background information on him. Sundi out of Washington is my neighbor. He comes over to visit when he is home from Tuskegee. When he came, your books had just come in. So I was so excited about what happened, how I got the books, etc. And he said, "Oh man, I would read it. I will read it." And I said, "Okay, you know what? I'll give you one." So he took the book, he read it. He then told me he sent you an email, and you responded. So I forgot to tell him that you were going to be on the call. I told him this morning. I said, if you can get on, jump on. And he said, okay, I'm gonna try to get some time and jump on. So I wanted him to come in, introduce himself, ask his question because he can only be on for about 5 minutes. But he took your book. He read it. He emailed you without me even knowing. He came back and told me you responded. He was so excited. So he's one of our success stories. He was the Youth of the Year at the Boys and Girls Club in Conyers, Georgia. He now goes to Tuskegee. And he did put together, he and another of his college friends put together a Black Lives Matter walk in Conyers and was instrumental in taking down one of the Confederate statues in Conyers just a couple of months ago. So Sundi, you have the floor to ask your question. Thank you so much. I'm glad you were able to get on.
No problem. Thank you for having me on the call. Hey, Mr. McCormick.
My man, how are you,
I'm
sir?
doing great. I'm doing great. Glad I can make the call. So yeah, the one question I could ask, what's the biggest piece of advice that you would give anybody? Yeah.
I went into this a bit earlier, and so I'm going to give you 2 parts to that. Never let anyone define success for you. Define your own success. If you want to be a teacher, then go be the best teacher you can be. If you want to be a CEO, then be the best CEO you can be. If you want to be a multimillionaire, okay, well then that's great too. But don't let someone else define what success is for you, and don't always let money be the driver. If money is your definition of success, great. But don't let Instagram, don't let TikTok, don't let anybody influence what you find success to be. And then the other advice that I would give to people, and I'm harsh on this one, guys, so work with me here, but pay very close attention. Anything you want in life, you're gonna have to work hard for it. Everyone celebrates me because of what I've achieved, but rarely do people want to talk about what I had to go through to get here. Rarely do people want to talk about the work that I put in. No one wants to talk about how I would get to the office at 6 a.m. and I wouldn't leave until 7 p.m. Everybody just wants to talk about the celebration of what I accomplished, but not what it took to get there. So here's what I would say to you, and I say this to people here that I work with. It's sad in our country that we celebrate a term called binge watching. People will sit there and watch Game of Thrones on Friday at 6 p.m. through Sunday at 6 p.m., but then have the nerve to wake up on Monday pissed off because they haven't achieved their dreams and goals. People will sit there and go to the club Thursday through Sunday and then be mad on Monday that they haven't achieved their dreams and goals. So the advice that I would give is focus on what you want to become. I will say this to you, gentlemen, and I mean this with all my heart. If I had available to me YouTube, all the things that you can go and learn from back when I was your age, oh. And so focus on learning what it is you want to do, what it is you want to be. Who's talking about what rapper has done what? I don't care. Because unless you're sending me part of your money, I don't care. And so focus on you, be who you want to be, define success for yourself, and go all in on yourself. And don't you dare be mad that somebody else didn't go all in on you when you didn't even go all in on yourself.
That is so true.
Those are some wise words. I appreciate it, Ms. McCormick.
I appreciate you reaching out to me, and I know you remember my Tuskegee quote I threw back at you on email too.
Definitely. But I'm about to get my day started. It was great talking to you. Thank you, Ms. Kara, for having me on the call.
Thank you. He is currently at Tuskegee now in the classes, so I appreciate you jumping on for 5 minutes. Thank you so much, sir.
Take care.
You too.
Hey, Carol, can I ask my question?
I think I have Emmanuel and Jamal Rogers left, and then we can go to you, and then I wanted to see if Michael or Pam had a question. Is that okay?
Yeah, I have to get out of here too soon.
Oh, so go ahead and ask your question since you have to go.
I'm going to ask my question super quick, Mr. McCormick. I'm an English teacher. And so when I got to the part where you left the payday loan place and everything, and then you decided or you left the housing industry, that's right. And you decided to just read all these books to teach yourself, to educate yourself. I mean, really, already I see that you're a self-disciplined person, but really what made you hungry to read? Because that's one of the things I struggle with, just my voice to be, our students to be hungry to read and gain that knowledge. What advice would you give me, my students, or anything to really just help build that love and appreciation and self-discipline for reading?
The love in reading will come from when you find what you want to be, and then you consume yourself in doing that. So for me, I was incredibly blessed that in my early 20s, I got introduced to the stock market. So that became the thing that I consumed myself with. When I found out that you can take $1 and turn it into 2, and take 10 and turn it into 100, and you could study these companies, and all this information was out there for free, man, I just consumed it, and I thought, wait a minute. So instead of going out buying the new Jordans and dropping 2 bills on that, I can take 2 bills and I can invest in stock and turn my 2 into 4. And so instead of buying the Gucci belt and the chain, I figured, okay, I can drop every dollar into the stock market, teach myself, and really flip my paper. Oh, I was hooked. So, and then they had the nerve to introduce me to Audible, where now books are on audiobook. And because I read very slow, guys, incredibly slow. Sometimes I got to read the page 3 times because I'm trying to retain it. So then I found out Audible, you can listen to it, and then I can put it on 1.5 speed and it'll go faster, and I can consume even faster. Oh, I was hooked. So like I said, the tools that you all have available to you now, oh man, it's find the love of what you want to consume yourself with, and then go all in. If it's the stock market, if it's construction, if it's sanitation, if it's being an attorney, all of this information is out there. And on YouTube, it's free. I'm blown away by this.
Thank you, Mr. McCormick. Okay, I'm gonna leave it to my husband and love all of you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I discovered Audible over COVID, over the pandemic, and I love it. And I love to put the speed up as well. So I don't know. We have too many similarities, Mr. I might have to explore that. I might have to explore that. Let's see. We have Jamal Rogers, and I'm trying to think of. I'm looking around. I think Oren we didn't get to. Let me see if I have your question, but Jamal Rogers had a question, and I think if I missed you, put up your hand and say something, and then we have Mike Roberts on the line, who's our community relations directors for Hills Academy, and we have Pam Robertson. So if you guys want to ask any questions, let me know after they get finished, okay? Jamal, you can go, and then I don't know if I asked Oren a question. I might have asked it, but I'm going to check now.
Good afternoon. My question was, is there any other books that you would recommend for young males to read?
Books for young, I'm going to give you a book that I read when I was 21 years old, and literally so many parts of this book changed my life. It gave me a new way to think about life. The book is called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And one of my favorite stories in there is Thomas Edison, who invented electricity, invented the light bulb. They asked Thomas Edison, they said, hey, how did it feel to fail 10,000 times before you discovered electricity, before you discovered the light bulb? And he looked at everyone and he said, did I fail 10,000 times, or did I find 10,000 ways that didn't work? And what that did for me, what it told me was, you only fail if you stop trying. And so I made a commitment that I'm never going to stop trying until the day I die. I'm going to keep trying. And so we all make mistakes. The goal is to learn, grow, and not repeat the mistake. But we all make mistakes, but you only fail if you stop trying. If it takes you 2 times to pass the 10th grade, okay, you're only going to fail if you stop trying and you never got past the 10th grade. But if it took you 2 times, hey, I made some mistakes, took me 2 times. But don't stop trying. Don't ever stop trying. Learn, grow, and don't repeat your mistakes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was a good response. And let me ask Mike Roberts, who is the Community Relations Director for Hills Academy, and we also have Pam Robertson, who also had your book. Did you guys have any questions?
Hi, Miss Carol. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh,
Beautiful
hi.
picture.
Oh, thank you. I was just gonna say I don't have any specific questions, but I just want to say it was an excellent talk, and I loved a lot of the points that you touched on. I have 2 young men, and I try and emphasize a lot of things that you said, but I just want to thank you for your time, because maybe coming from another person, hopefully these young men will take it to heart a little bit more. But definitely the lessons about you're responsible for yourself regardless of your background. I think that's an excellent point. And just always learn and grow. It's just a lot of things that you said. I think they really touch home, and hopefully the young men have taken it to heart. So just thank you.
Thank you, Mrs.
Thank you
Robertson.
so
I
much.
appreciate it.
And Miss Carol, Miss
Thank you
Robinson
so
is a
much.
board member as well, so she does a lot for Hills Academy. So I appreciate her coming on.
She's a board member. She's also teaching our young men how to have an electronic resume and electronic website as well. And she also does, shameless plug, for our t-shirts. So thank you so much. Jack of all trades, master of it all. Thank you so much, Ms. Robertson. Okay, and then Mike Roberts, who is the Community Relations Director for Hills Academy and also the director at King's Christian Academy. Just wanted to see if if you had any questions. I gave him a book originally, and then we got 3 more students. And I had to call him and get the book back from him to give it to another. But he was enjoying it up until that time.
Yeah.
So we're finished, so I can give it back to you after this to finish reading it.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me say this, Carol, and to the author. I was looking forward to being a part of this exchange, and I wasn't disappointed. I really appreciated what I heard, and in particular, the aspect about the kids who are mixed, having been exposed to a lot of children at the Boys and Girls Club from mixed parentage, and the struggles they've had, trying to identify in the, themselves in the community, and having heard what you had to say about that certainly resonated with me in a big way. And also I wanted to just mention this, Carol, that thanking you for the connection you have made to get him on so he can speak to those kids. I mean, it's a plus. I know having had a conversation with Brian, we were like, how do we keep him engaged with Hills Academy and with King's Academy? How do we keep this relationship going? I would love for him to have a response indeed. How can we keep this going? Not a one time, but we can open it up so we can build on this partnership the way that I'm looking at it.
So was that question for me?
Yeah, the question is, how do we keep this relationship going, boss man?
You know, I will say this, in some way, shape, or form, and I'll say this while I'm on here, I learned this from my dad. If you can't follow through, don't say it. Because I remember standing there waiting on him to come pick me up, and he never showed. So I realized early on, if you can't commit, don't say it. I will say this with everyone on here. I'm more than willing to stay engaged with you all in some way, shape, or form, be it as you have more boys come through the academy. I don't have a problem sending the books. I never did this book to make money from it, so I have no problem sending the books. If I needed to do something like this once a quarter, I can do that. But in some way, shape, or form, I can commit to that. It's time is limited for me between speaking, between running the company, and like I said, having 4 kids at home. Time is limited, but in some way, shape, or form, I can commit to that.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, and Mr. McCormick, that is it's recorded, so. And I'm glad Mike said that, because we did talk, and I'm gonna tell you one of the things that, I mean, your book touched me, and of course we're in the same era, so a lot of that I connected with. And it was great. I'm not a reader like yourself, but I picked up your book and couldn't put it down. It was an easy read, a good read. And for me, like my wife said, I know one of the most important things for young men is to get them in a place where they can understand that you can't replace hard work. There's nothing that can replace hard work. Nothing that can replace doing the right things, and that's having the right manners. And so one of my things is, as soon as I saw your book, the Kings read the book, but what I want to do is have this book, every 9th grader will read this book from here on out every year to be a part of the curriculum. And it's very important to me, because a lot of these young men, the reason Hills Academy was started was you know, if you look at statistics, I know you talk about numbers and things like that, you can see that in the communities, the black male is the lowest on the totem pole. And you can see it in many different facets. So my whole mission in life, my whole purpose, and the reason why I started this nonprofit is because I want to make sure I can create strong men who sustain strong families. And I liken it to Nehemiah when he rebuilt the wall. If you don't have strong men in the community, you cannot have a strong community. And so that's our whole mission. And one of the things I wanted to, and I'm glad you said you don't care about sending books. I was going to request a class set of books that will just stay and they will be read every year. I want you to know that you will be a part of Hills Academy's curriculum. And then I also was interested in trying to, I know Jamal said the question about coming up with books that young men need to read and should read. I want to also build a library here on the campus that really gets those books that are guided and directed towards what young men need to read, and would be good for them. And so that's something, you know, I would love to partnership with you in getting certain books and building our library out and having that where in our curriculum, we do go from basically fourth to high school, what our kids will read each year as they progress. And some of the things, you know, we talk about Rich Dad, Poor Dad, some of the things that they don't get in a school setting. And if their parents don't have that in their personal library, we'll never see. We talk about doing the stock market games, certain things like that is something that these kids, if they get introduced to at an early age, can use that, you know. And I would definitely love, and I love your whole bent on leadership. I'm a big John Maxwell guy, servant leadership. So I would love to just even kind of pick your brain on some of those things on management and leadership, because me starting this school was totally a God thing. It had nothing to do with skills and management. I went to school for computer science, and I went to the school, teachers, substitute teachers, and found out that this was God's mission field in America, is the classroom. Because I met kids just like what you're talking about, with all kind of situations and all kind of circumstances, and I had an opportunity to impact those kids, and that's what brought me energy and excitement. So I just, like Mr. Mike said, we can keep the relationship. It doesn't have to be a marriage. I know you got other things to do, but I really appreciate the fact that you reached out. I mean, it really, your words mean something. And that chapter about Uncle Bobby and the fact that you are a man of your word just does something for me, and it's important for our boys to understand that your words
Thank you, sir.
have to have power. Yes, sir.
I appreciate that. Incredibly humble. And gentlemen, I'll say this to all of you, and I ask that you please take this away from you. Don't look at me and say, oh, that can never happen to me. And also don't look at me and say, I want to be just like him. Don't be like me. Be a billion times better than me. Do it better than I ever did it, and do it a billion times better. But don't look at me and feel that you can't do this. Guys, my dad was a pimp. I've watched him beat women. I watched him drag women across the street, take their money. I've gone to school and eaten on a Friday and didn't eat again until a Monday because of that free lunch. Anything that I've achieved, you all can go do it better, but do it in your way. Do it whatever it is that you see success as. Don't let someone define success for you. Don't get caught up out on the streets and let somebody guide you down the wrong path. And I apologize for my language, but yeah, shit gets hard. And so, but it's up to you to make the decision. You have the choice. And I'm going to give you this last bit of how I live my life. Mindset, and you saw this in the book, mindset, choices, and hard work equals success. What is your mindset? I don't care what your situation is. I don't care what your home life is. Right now, there's a family walking from Mexico trying to get into this country to create an opportunity for themselves. Gentlemen, we were all born here. So I don't care how bad it is. We're already here. They're trying to get in to where we are. And guess what? If they get in, guess what they get? They just get in. They still don't speak the language. They still don't have a job. They still don't have a house. They still don't have food. We're here. So we're already ahead of the game. So I don't care that my dad was a pimp. I don't care that I still don't know where my last name comes from. I don't care that I only have a GED. Fact of the matter is I was born here. I have a responsibility to be successful.
That is correct. Thank you so much for that. I definitely appreciate it. And we appreciate what you have done. I have one last question for Oren. And I was trying to figure out what the question was, but he just texted to me. We did see in the book some reasons why you wrote the autobiography, but just wanted to know, are there any other books in your future? Good question,
Oren.
Any other books in your future?
You know, Oren, it's straightforward. That your question couldn't have better timing. Before I got on this call, I literally was standing. So I'm pointing over here because I'm in the conference room. I was literally standing right outside that door, and I caught our director of books. She basically is responsible for all of the book writing in the company. And I pulled her to a side and I said, hey, I'd be honored if you assist me in writing my second book. So we're going to start my second book in January.
Okay, great. Yes. We will need to read that as well.
One of the, it was funny. Our marketing, our head of marketing here pulled up for me on the internet and said the top 3 things that come up with my name that people search for is my name, my net worth, how much money am I worth? And the one question that comes up is how to get out of the hood. And so I'm the part of the book is going to be getting out of the hood. Because like I said at the beginning of this, the goal is not to stay in the hood. The goal is to get out.
Thank you so much. And we look forward to you finishing that book so we can put it on our curriculum to be read at Hills Academy, King's Christian Academy as well. So did anybody else, I think I covered every question. Did anybody else had a question I didn't answer? I'm going around the room and I think everybody had their question answered. Or any other comments? Anybody would like to say a couple of words? Anybody? Jacob Lynch, I said I was going to call you. Jamal, Trey, anybody?
Yeah, gentlemen, you always learn how to thank the person who's doing something for you. Oh, who is that? Is that Oren?
That was me.
Okay, go ahead, Jake.
That was Jacob, I think, was saying so. He had the most thoughtful conversations with the book. So I said to him, I was definitely going to call on him and Jamal, for any comments, because when we were going over the questions, we had specific sections we were reading. And actually, one of the questions, I'm glad you said that, was what you inscribed in the book and what did you think he meant when he put that in there. So that was one of the questions. But they were 2 that had the most thought-provoking questions to our discussion. So I said I was going to call on them. So Jacob, I'll let you finish it out. Jacob.
But I was just gonna say I really appreciate you sending out the books and just instilling your little bit of wisdom into all of our lives, because it's not every day that you get to meet somebody of your stature that comes and is willing to talk to each and every one of us. So I'd just like to say thank you from everybody at Hills Academy.
Well, man, Jacob, I appreciate it, sir. Don't ever forget, man. I put my pants on just like you. I put my shoes on just like LeBron. The fact of the matter, he's 6'8", 240, and can dunk. Okay, great. I'm 6 foot and I can scale a company and make money. The fact of the matter is, we're both men. We both get dressed and go hard. The one thing you can control in life is how hard you work, your effort you put in. I'm not the smartest person. I'm not the most academically gifted, but I will never let someone outwork me.
Amen.
Thank you, sir.
Amen. Do we have any other questions or comments? Because we are so grateful for the hour that you've given to us. Again, we know that you have a lot of things on your plate. The fact that you won, and as I said to my students, I think I went over this story about 50 times, the fact that you responded within 4 hours to my email. So I sent the email. I was so shocked that you responded so quickly. Like I was running around. I think I texted and called everybody. The fact that you responded, the fact that you offered to send the book, because my question was just if you can get on the call. But then you took it one step further and you sent the book. And then you sent the book and then it was all inscribed. So those three, it doesn't happen all the time. And I don't want all of our students to think it does. But I also want them to know that when it's their time, that they are to pay it forward just as much and just as well. And then you are a man of your word because you did get on the call. You were using UBT, Uncle Bobby's time, and he was on here one time. And so this doesn't happen every day, and they understand that this doesn't happen every day. And the fact that you just believe that this was important, and even the work that you do with the youth that are in your area, it made a difference. A lot of things that you talked about in the book, of course, made a difference to me. I'm the one who got the book first. I got it. I showed the video again this morning for your teacher. And what I started to say was I wanted to be that teacher for somebody. And then I saw you signing your books. And then I said, okay, well, let me order the book and see what it is. And I read it. Honestly, I read it in a day. I'm not even going to lie. But I'm a reader. I'm an avid reader. So I read it and I got on the next day and I was like, look, I got the book. We're going to read. We're going to read this book. This is the book we're going to read. And I sent an email to the parents and told them they all had to purchase the book. And then you responded to me. And then I sent another email to the parents saying, okay, no, don't purchase the book. He's going to send the books to us. So my students are grateful. My parents are grateful. We don't take this for granted. I'm, again, so humbled and honored that you went above and beyond what I asked you to do. And I just want the students to see this and wanted them to know as well that when it becomes their turn, because their turn is coming, because just as WNBA, we got next, that they are to do the same thing.
Yes.
When it's their turn. And if somebody comes to them or sends them an email or requests something, that they are to pay it forward the same way. And so, again, thank you for that. And even to my neighbor, Sundi, who just happened to come in when the books came. And I was going on and on about the books and this author, he said, oh my God. And so he said, man, I wish I could read it. And I was like, okay, yeah. But make sure you read it. And he read it and he sent it, and then he too has passed the book on as well. And so just knowing that a lot of people are now reading it just based on you sending the books to us. And of course, that wasn't your ultimate motivation, but what we learned through the book, it was more important. This hour that you poured into us is so much more important as to how we will continue to walk in our daily lives that I just can't say thank you enough. I just can't say thank you enough.
Well, I appreciate it. And gentlemen, I'll wrap up with this to what she said. And so please pay attention to this. Please look at me, pay attention. You don't have to smile at me, but look at me. I want you to realize something that, and I won't turn this into a race thing. I don't do this for everyone. I am incredibly blessed now that I get paid $35,000 to go on stage, $35,000 to do Zoom calls and teach people my message. And what's crazy is when I first got offered money to speak, I was a little frustrated because when I was a kid and I was hungry and I needed money, no one gave me any money. But now I've got all the money I could ever ask for, and people want to pay me to tell them about when I needed money. And it was an interesting dynamic for me. But what I want you to realize is there's an academy up in Dallas, and I don't want to turn this into a race thing because I'm half white, half black. But I looked into the school, and the school was predominantly all white. And they asked if I'd speak to their school, and they said they'd pay me, and I said no, and they offered more money, and I said no. I did this because I'm one of you. I come from where you come from. I come from those broken places. I know what it's like to see the bottom, if you will. But I also wanted you all to see that you can get out of that. The person that comes from where you came from got out of that. No one told me, rapper, athlete, drug dealer. That was the only options. No one told me about business. No one told me about the stock market. Here I am. Don't do it like me. Do it better than me.
That is perfect. Thank you so much. That is absolutely perfect. I appreciate it. I appreciate this hour. I took my notes. So I appreciate it. I'm here to learn. So thank you so much. And any other time that you have, available, we'll pick your brain. Mr. Brian Hilbert and we're going to make our way to Austin one day.
Excellent.
We'll make our way. We'll take a tour. We'll do whatever it takes. But
I was going to tell you,
pass on the knowledge.
Mr. McCormick, I'm originally from Oklahoma City, so I'm a big OU fan, so I don't like anything Texas. But I'll come to Austin for you, man. But the rest of that, the University of Texas, they can have that. But I would definitely come down there. I heard Austin's a pretty nice city.
Beautiful city, and I'm impartial because I don't have a college degree anyway. Right. So you all take care.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, God bless you, man. We appreciate it.
Very appreciative. God bless you.
Merry Christmas. Take care, guys.
All right. Thank you, sir.